All right, let's resume our meeting. Next item on the agenda is an update on the Community and Local Law Enforcement Task Force. The second meeting was last night. Part of it was procedural. We had two things which did take place, and I'll update you on those and then answer any questions you might have. We elected our officers. The chair of the meeting is Carolyn Banuela. She works with Cinco de Mayo and other things. I don't know how many of you know her. The vice chair is going to be Robert Edmonds, who is an activist, long-standing. We also studied the requirements, or rather the parameters, of 3 subcommittees into which we are going to be divided for working groups. The 3 of them are: 1, a community engagement and healing subcommittee. This committee is charged with developing and recommending strategies and activities to support the work of the community policing and civilian review subcommittee in their efforts to foster community engagement and healing. Members of this committee could be thought of as community ambassadors for the task force, and will develop the opportunities and venues to foster community dialogue and interaction for task force members. The second is a community policing subcommittee. This group will be charged with reviewing and presenting to the task force input from the community, options regarding potential community policing strategies to be recommended to the county, including a recommendation on costs for county budgeting purposes. The third subcommittee is the Civilian Review Subcommittee. This subcommittee is charged with considering and presenting to the task force, with input from the community, options regarding potential models for civilian review to be recommended to the county. Additionally, this subcommittee will review whether the Office of Coroner should be separate from the Office of Sheriff. So we separated into subcommittees. The next meeting of the task force will be on the 10th of November. Subcommittees will be meeting in the meantime. The recommendation was that no task force member join more than 2 subcommittees. And so we all went to that. Are there any questions about the task force? Yeah, Chris.
I'm sorry, did I hear you say that the next meeting of the task force would be November 10th?
February.
February.
Did I say November?
Yeah.
I'm tired. February. Other questions? Yeah, Faith.
Did each one of the supervisors, are all of the slots filled on
They are.
that? Okay.
Yeah. There was, however, a prolonged discussion in which I was an activist, that I think it is absolutely imperative that we have either 1 or 2 full-time youth members on the task force, because we are talking about a great many issues which affect the youth of the community. And there's nobody on that task force probably under 40. So, well, I maybe, hope I'm not insulting anybody, I don't think so. So yeah, we do need, I believe we need some youth members. Anybody else? Sure.
Oh, about last night, because I was there. So is there any movement on that, where you just said, are you going to vote on to see if you'll have 2 more young people?
The youth people?
Yes.
I don't know, it was kind of interesting, and you know that if you were there.
Awesome result.
What the county staff proposed was to engage youth through schools, through community projects, through whatever. And some of us, myself included, said, okay, that's really good idea, do all that, but get them on the task force too. So my assumption is that they're going to come back at the next meeting and say something, because it was not resolved at the meeting. Yeah, Demetra.
We're hearing about the need for cultural competence training, diversity training. That's kind of what I'm hearing about. Do you think, well, without knowing myself personally the extent of that, what currently exists within the Sheriff's Department, do you feel that the subcommittees that you just described, that one or more of those might be, get to the point where they might make a recommendation towards additional training? Do you think that would fall within the realm of?
Well, it's interesting. I can't say with any degree of certainty what a subcommittee will do. But I think I'd be surprised if there wasn't some additional training. I don't know whether that will be in terms of diversity, whether that will be in terms of sensitivity. My guess is that that will come under the community policing avenue. Personally, I voted to work on two committees. One is community policing, and one is the community engagement and healing. So I hope so. Christina.
I actually have something to add to this question. Human Resources is working...
They're not going to be able to hear you.
Oh, sorry. Human Resources is working on a report and trying to understand what the county is doing, what our past practices and current practices are, not past, but the past couple of years, as far as diversity training and cultural awareness training. So that is a current work in progress. It is a report that will be developed and released on our demographic numbers in our offices with some options. And it's my understanding that it may come through the task force and eventually some recommendations may come out of that report.
Okay. Well, we certainly look forward to hearing what you have to say. Anybody else? Comments or questions?
I just want to say about Carolina, she's president of the Latino Democratic Club too.
I'm sorry?
Carolina Bañuelos. She's president of the Latino Democratic Club.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, let's move on. Let's go on to old business. As commissioners know, but as the public does not know, we had a busy couple of days because on Saturday we spent about 5 hours in what has become an annual strategic planning session. Overall, it went very well. We've reviewed some of the comments. Tracy and I have a lot of work to do. We put together all of what you said, and we will have a full report for you for the November meeting. I don't know whether this is wishful thinking or I just lost 9 months somehow. Although it would make our lives easier. No, for the February meeting. Does anybody have any comments they want to offer today, or if not, we'll just push it off until February.
February, actually. February, there's no one there. My birth month.
Okay. Overall, it went really well. What we try to do as far as members of the public go, we certainly do a great deal and focus primarily on strategic planning. We review our annual plan, we talk about our current thrusts, we analyze them, we try to determine if we're going to continue with them or to add other things to our current roster. In addition, we do some team building, which is simply knowing how to work with each other a little bit better. And I think we had a little bit of fun. Not too much, but a little bit. And a very good lunch. So, all right, let's move on to we're already in old business. Chris Karowski, could you bring us up to date on the DREAM Act project?
Yes, thank you, Judy. We passed a resolution a couple of months ago that came out of the Immigrant Rights Task Force at the Commission to celebrate the accomplishments of Dreamers, young people in our county and in the North Bay that have been obtaining and continue to obtain their status through the executive order passed by President Obama, colloquially known as the DREAM Act. And the idea is to sort of honor and celebrate the impact this has made on our community, the specific accomplishments of some of the young people covered by this law in our county, what they've done before and after this law, how it's impacted them, and to implicitly highlight the life of the undocumented in our community and why legalization is so important. We started out as just kind of a broad-based idea for a multimedia project. It's developed quite a lot in the last month. So now we have signed on KRCB, the public TV station. They have committed to broadcasting a documentary film. We've enlisted an organization, a nonprofit organization known as the Working Group, which is a progressive filmmaking organization that's done some nationwide PBS programs for the last 25 years. They do Not in Our Town, which is a series covering how communities fight racism. So we feel really honored and blessed to have these two institutions on board. The CEO of KRCB told me that she thinks we can get all the broadcast, or most of the broadcast company, PBS broadcast affiliates in California to broadcast this once we get it done. So we're getting rolling on that project. We also have asked the Santa Rosa Junior College to assist us with putting together a website. There's an application which we submitted this week for that, and we hope to have their help. One of our colleagues has reached out to President Chong from the SRGC, so we hope that will help, and we'll get their assistance in this project as well. We've also put together a team of, slowly are putting together a team of interns and volunteers. If anybody knows anybody who might be interested in helping, there's a lot of work to be done. We are beginning to fundraise and looking for organizational sponsors. Primarily, we need a 501c3 that would act as a fiscal agent. We have the Community Foundation of Sonoma County has agreed to help us raise funds. They have an interest in this program, but we need a 501c3 that would be an umbrella organization for that purpose. And lastly, we're soliciting suggestions on bios and individuals in this county who are dreamers who could be the subject of either the film or the website or both.
Good. Thank you, Demetra. I know that we are getting ready to reach out to all of the high schools in the county in advance of the recruitment process for the upcoming junior commission. And I'm wondering if a flyer or email query could be created about the project to solicit kind of bios of potential folks that could be involved with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to do that.
We have a database, like a mailing list of all the high schools, and I'm wondering if you need help with graphics or making a flyer, I'm happy to help with that, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Any comments from the public?
All right. Our next item of business is an economic bill of rights. Now, what happened during the month is that we seem to have, we went back and forth on the longer and more historically oriented version of what Art had prepared. During the month, several people contributed to a shortened version, and we talked about making one the official, what words did we use, Art?
We're part of the Economic Rights Task Force.
And the other one, the short one?
It's a statement on economic rights.
Okay, so why don't you take it from here and see if we can finish this sucker up?
Sure, yes, I think you should be able to. If you consolidate your agenda, there were two statements in the agenda, namely the two statements that Judy referred to. And the one called the report on the Economic Rights Task Force is basically the document that we've reviewed for the last couple of months. And I think that it could be accepted as a report from the task force if the chair simply declares that it's accepted and it should be included in the minutes unless there's some objection. And the other.
Well, let me stop you there. We don't normally include reports from task forces or ad hocs in minutes.
I think it would be appropriate to have it somehow included in the record.
We can vote on that.
Okay, do we want to then, and the other is the same on economic rights hopefully you've had a chance to read it. It's a one page in large type. I'll just read the first paragraph. The intent of this statement is to affirm that the Sonoma County Commission on Human Rights recognizes economic rights as a class of rights that fall under the general category of human rights and that affect all people in Sonoma County. And we can read more of it if people would like, but if you've had a chance to read it, there's no point in it.
So I'm assuming you have all had a chance to read this. Let's talk about the short version first. So I'm going to ask if there are any questions. I think we've talked about this a lot. Or if somebody is willing to propose a motion that we accept the statement on economic rights. Is there a motion out there?
Yes, I motion that we accept the statement of economic rights.
I second it.
All right, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, doesn't that feel good, Art? All right. Now, I do have a little bit of qualms about publishing this with the minutes, only because it then becomes an accepted statement, and I question if people are going to have the same problems with it that they had before, because it still comes across as an official document of the commission.
Well, I think the intent of accepting it as a report would be that it's a statement of the Economic Rights Task Force, and the commission simply agrees that it is of some interest and should be available. But it does not imply by any means that the commission accepts everything that's in it.
How you guys feel about it?
And it would not be actually posted on the website with the minutes. It would simply be made available for anybody who wants to see it.
And I agree, the group has worked, they've produced a statement. This is the statement, this is their work object they've produced. And as such, it should be accepted. That's normal.
Anybody else? Gail?
Well, but the first sentence says that it is confirmed that the Sonoma County Commission on Human Rights recognizes economic rights as a class of rights that fall under the general category of human rights. So,
No, that's the other one, I'm sorry.
well, that statement, I thought that's the one that was just
No,
approved.
now we're voting on the report.
Oh, you're onto the report.
Yes, we just voted on the statement.
Okay, but then I thought that there was, what I'm saying is, I thought there was some disagreement about that we don't all agree on that, but I will drop that.
Okay.
Okay, we're on the report now.
So the proposal now is that we include the report of the Economic Rights Task Force to be made available, not as a part of the minutes, but listed as available from those minutes. Could I have a motion to that effect, if somebody wants to make one?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I think the way to get things done with you guys is to wait until you're tired and stay. And then go on from there. All right, Art, good. Congratulations. Long battle. All right, let's move right along. Tomorrow conference. Nothing new on that. We will be in charge of the breakout session on, which one are we doing? Youth, thank you. On youth, and we'll be assisting with the one on human trafficking. Ann Noel is supposed to be coming back in February, so I'll get more details on that, and Demetra doesn't know it, but she's been drafted to do the breakout session with me, and we'll probably have all the juniors down there working on it anyway. So that's all that's going on with that, and we will tell all of you the dates as soon as we know them, because we encourage you to come on down for the conference. There'll be a nominal fee for participation. We can pay your fee, we can't pay your hotel room.
Do you have an approximate date?
Yeah, mid to late April. All right, moving on, budget. Anybody want to spend money? Okay. Everybody up to date on ethics training?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to updates from our offline committees. Having said that, almost all of this next section is going to be revised based on what we did Saturday, but for now, we're going to do it the way it's listed here. So, website, anything on website?
I think we're gonna hold on that until we find out the stipulations of the county website and how that affects any
Okay.
changes or additions we would make to ours. Correct.
Got it.
Just continuing on what I mentioned on Saturday, there will be meetings set up between
Right.
ISD and HR.
And HR? Good.
I have a comment. Diana, who offered to help us with the website, she just had surgery. She's at home. She called me today. She said, if you need any work, let me know. Just waiting.
Hello?
If she's, might want to set her up with Demetra so that the idea of this meeting with ISD is to come to the table with ideas and a vision, what you'd like to see happen. And then they can turn and show you what they're capable of doing and see how that's
A
going to
little
work.
creative brainstorming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it might be worth having a meeting prior to the county meeting.
Good. Facebook page.
I would like to say something about that because there was a question about the Facebook page at our strategic planning. And basically, the Facebook page is a way for us to connect with the community. The reason why there's only, I think there's 3 people that post on it right now. When you post on the Facebook page, it's myself, Chris Rohde, and Ramon are the administrators of the page. When you post on the Facebook page, you are posting on behalf of the commission. So it's important we want to get information out, but be neutral in terms of opinion and just be, sensitive to that. I welcome any and all ideas for articles and anything you think is important that should get out to the community. We'll certainly review it, and if we have a question about it, we would always check with Judy and Tracy. Tracy sends me articles all the time, and I'll take a look at them and post. So if you have any article or anything you want posted, just send it to us, and we'll take a look at it, and probably 9 times out of 10, we'll be happy to post it for you.
Good. Our Speakers Bureau is languishing, not because we don't have people willing to speak, but because we don't have venues, nor do we seem to have the time to seek out venues of people who want speakers. So we're going to revisit whether that needs to still live with us. Tabling an event calendar, anything?
I do not know how I got put on this because
You volunteered.
I volunteered to be the volunteer coordinator. It's not the tabling coordinator.
No, you did. I remember.
I'm definitely not to do an events calendar. Never. But I know myself. I wouldn't have.
All right, we'll take your name off, and I would ask sincerely that before the next meeting, somebody think about taking this on because it's important. So contact any of your officers, and let's see if we can get this going. Commission support, volunteers and interns.
Okay.
Chris?
And?
Yeah. I mean, and we only have one, which is my husband, who I have offered to Chris. And I think he's working with Chris, yes?
Wait a minute, what about all our other volunteers?
They disappeared. They literally disappeared.
Have you tried to contact them?
Well, one of them went back to, I believe, St. Louis. I knew she was going back this month, actually, because she told me she was. That was our photographer.
Okay.
So she's gone. And Jane Muscate, I can never pronounce it. Muscagian has not contacted me since the last time I contacted her about finding venues for us to speak at, but since we don't have a speakers bureau, I don't think it's useful to contact her about that. So we could use some more volunteers. Maybe one of our Facebook people could post that on the Facebook page. Saying
Why don't we develop a flyer
Yeah.
that covers both the DREAM Act and general volunteers. Also want to announce that I did get a new intern as of this week. They're primarily interested in the Streamers Project, but she's a pretty impressive person. She's going to attend our next meeting. Her name's Amanda Servin. She's an employee of Verity. So she reached out to me and said she's very interested in working with us on this Dreamers Project to begin with, and perhaps we can have her work on other things as well.
I got a phone call from the new executive director of the Family Justice Center, who wants to sit down over coffee and kind of chew things around and see how we can work together, so.
I would be happy to talk to them as well.
Okay, I'll check my calendar. It's sometime next week or the week after we meet at Pete's for coffee, so yeah.
If you want some company.
I was going to say, I'm happy to post about volunteer opportunities on the Facebook page. I think at this point, since we don't have an organized volunteer program in place to receive those people, deal with them, help match them up with specific things, I don't know if I want to put out a general inquiry, but for specific things like what you're talking about, I am more than happy if anyone needs a volunteer for any task, since I'm involved with the Facebook page, please send it to me. I'm happy to post, are you interested in immigrants' rights? We're working on, et cetera.
Okay.
And we talked about, by the first of the year, having a policy for volunteers. Have you done anything with that?
No, but I don't understand what you mean by policy. Are you talking about number of hours and commitment?
I'm talking generally about how we handle them, what the reporting structure is, what we expect of them, how they report in, how they get their assignments.
Well, okay, I can draft a policy.
Okay, good.
Not for the next meeting, unless you want to do it early, because I have to leave early on the next meeting. I can be here for an hour. But I can draft a policy within the next month.
Why don't you do that and we can review it before the meeting, and then possibly we can get to it.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be very general, since we don't have specific tasks at this point.
Yeah.
And then I would offer my help as well if you'd like to work on it as a team effort.
Okay.
I'd be more than happy if you wanted to delegate certain tasks, I'd be more than happy to help you.
All right, let's move on to ad hoc committees. Sonoma Talking Point. We had made a decision at our last meeting that our next Sonoma Talking Point would be on homelessness. As I mentioned on Saturday, time and other commitments, it's not going to happen in the spring. So my guess is it will be in the fall sometime, and we may or may not revisit the topic, but we have lots of time to do that. Yes, Ann?
I don't know if the rest of the commissioners know that there's going to be a public forum on homelessness staffed by, I think, 2 of the supervisors on February 12th at the Glasser Center. So, yeah.
Good. Jenny, is there anything on the homelessness ad hoc?
Yes, Tracy sent out an email today to all commissioners in regards to 2 potential dates, February 7th, February 7th and February 14th, in regards, both are Fridays, in regards to the 2 shelters that we'll be visiting. The first will be Catholic Charities Family Support Center. And one of the most interesting things about this particular shelter is that it's the only shelter in Sonoma County that accepts families with boys that are 2 years and older. And also, they also have other programs as well. And also the SAY, or Social Advocates for Youth, Coffee House, which is a teen shelter, which is another major issue for Sonoma County. I encourage all commissioners to reply to Tracy by Friday so that I can go ahead and move forward and confirm with our nonprofit agencies. And upon confirmation, we'll go ahead and set out another meeting for the ad hoc committee to meet and discuss, or to debrief on our visits and what the next steps would be thereafter, Tracy.
Yes, excuse me, Madam Chair. I will send the corrected version out tomorrow with the correct dates. We were both looking at the wrong dates. But I only did send it out to the ad hoc.
Yeah, all commissioners are invited for the ad hoc.
Okay.
You thought it was November?
I did. Last November, too.
All right, other than the 2 documents which we passed today, is there anything new on either the Economic Rights Task Force or the Right to a Healthy Diet ad hoc?
Well, Jenny Chamberlain has agreed to be a member of the Economic Rights Task Force with a view toward looking at some of the longer-range structural and policy issues around homelessness. So we now have a 3-member task force, which is nice, and we'll meet before the meeting in February. On the healthy diet front, we're still working on getting a presentation for this group of what the county is doing by both the health services and the human services departments. And my current target date for that presentation would be our March meeting.
Okay.
Junior Commission, Demetra.
Question.
Yes,
Is there public comment on these items?
there can be.
Okay.
Sure.
I would like to address the homelessness part. Several months ago, I went to Dorothy Day working group and have been meeting also with the task force on homeless. And as you know, the county is finally starting to do something and looking at possibly long-term as well, and the city as well. We're talking about the nonprofit shelters, but obviously, if you know the numbers, there is not enough shelter space, and there's still cold weather coming up, so I think we need to look at the short term, definitely, so that people have shelter when it's freezing outside. That's a short term. So I just wondered that letter that we had written several months ago, and then you did form a subcommittee of your task force.
Yes, we did, and we have for the past several months, or past 2 months, correct me if I'm wrong. 2 to 3 months have been focusing on the short-term issues for homelessness. We had some guest speakers come in the past 2 months. The next month will also, do we have a guest speaker coming next month? Jenny Everson coming in. And so we can continue further that conversation as well. But it is certainly an issue. Part of the visit is because the shelters do work with a lot of the immediate emergency shelter issues as well, so we want to get their input on things.
And the county is also offering or it's the city, I think it's the county, the fairgrounds as an option.
Oh.
You know about that?
I believe, yes, we were referring to.
And one other thing is, have you studied and looked into what's going on in Utah right now, where they're actually providing housing
Right.
to the extent by the end of next year, they plan to house every homeless person. And the reason they did that, and they figured out that it costs less to house people than to provide the services and just the whole infrastructure around it. So I would recommend, since you still have the task force, to look into that long term.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your
And
comment.
I can send you some.
Any information you have, I would love that, and researching and getting to know what the main issues are within our community. And so any information we have is greatly appreciated.
All right. Let's move on to the Junior Commission.
Oh, so with Junior Commission, right, the commission is going along fine. The ad hocs are working on their project. Right now, I think the most important item for me is just that I really want to get the forms approved so we can post them on the website and get the word out. I know we were doing a lot of work leading up to tonight's meeting, but our application dates are open as of February 1st, so I really want to make sure we get the word out in a timely manner to all the schools. So I'll probably be stalking both of you starting tomorrow, so we can get that done. And we actually extended the terms of our commission with this inaugural group, and it's just really been a strong program, and we've learned a lot along the way, and we're going until June with this group, and I'm really excited to meet a new group of applicants. And maybe we have a lot of seniors this year, so a lot of them can't apply, but we have some, freshmen and sophomores and juniors that could possibly reapply. So, but they do have to go through the process again. So because they're a commissioner now doesn't mean they're guaranteed to get in for next year. So, but I'd like to get that stuff out there.
Yeah, and then we can get going. Sonoma County Museum Project, Faith.
It looks like we don't have, well, I know, we don't have a place. And so one of the things that we talked about on Saturday was possibly doing something on Facebook or the website, which sounded really interesting. Chris brought that up, and it sounds like a really interesting thing.
That would be an interesting thing to discuss, maybe with the volunteer that Ramon knows, about how to set up something like that. Maybe you guys could get together. Good, thank you. Rights of Immigrants Task Force.
We will meet sometime this month and have some recommendations for the infrastructure and discussion
Okay.
in February.
Contributions of Latino community.
That ad hoc is morphing, and Ramon and I are going to meet on Thursday to figure out how it's morphing and come up with the recommendations.
Cinco de Mayo.
That's what we have done, not an ad hoc. It's the one event that we're committed to tabling at, and I'm expecting that group will start meeting in February, but we haven't actually heard back yet.
And North Bay Organizing.
Actually, North Bay Organizing and CIPSI or whatever it's become we maintain a liaison relationship with both organizations, and Lou Birch, who is here this evening, is keeping us informed about how their reorganization is going. Davin Cardenas, who wasn't here this evening, is keeping us informed about things with the North Bay Organizing project that we should know about. And I've been doing things like sending them the information that came in on Saturday about how the structure of this meeting is going to go, so that people would know that, the public comment session and a 84 session. So basically, those relationships are set up and seem to be working.
Good. Disability issues. Ann.
Yes. Once again, I am meeting with people from DSLC, Disability Services and Legal Center, about the next Human Dignity Film Festival, but one of the benefits of regular meetings with a specific group of people is that other things come out of it. So what happened at the last meeting was that one of the members, who is a retired sociology professor, said that she was in the process of applying for a grant from Kaiser to deal with obesity issues in people with disabilities, and I said, gee, I was part of a group that was looking at diet in the Latino community, and she said maybe we should get together about that, and maybe join forces. So there is a possibility.
What about the larger disability issues? One of the things which came out on Saturday seemed to be a strong feeling that we're ignoring a lot of the disabled community.
And what needs to be done is that someone, it could be me, it could be you, from the commission needs to go to the board of DSLC and ask, is there something, is there an issue that you'd like us to bring up, be interested in, etc. In other words, they are the main disability rights organization for not just Sonoma County, but it's a 3-county area. I believe it's Mendocino and Napa as well.
So how about forwarding to Tracy contact information for the powers that be?
Absolutely. I'll forward that to Tracy.
And update on human trafficking.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go to the last human trafficking meeting last week because frankly I was too ill, but I was at the human trafficking event, which was essentially an open air area of the issues around human trafficking on the 15th of January at Courthouse Square, where the supervisor, Shirley Zane, spoke and about human trafficking, and the district attorney spoke about human trafficking, and several people representing the nonprofits dealing with human trafficking victims spoke. And as I said, it was open air, open to the public, so it was people going in and out, but I would say there were at least 200 people there.
Okay. Good, thank you. Commissioners, are there any agenda items for the next, you're waiting for me to say November, for the February meeting that we have not yet discussed? Chris?
I was just wondering if we had someone who could reach out to, I think the name is Chief Oakes, to come and maybe talk to us about minors and the Trust Act.
Can you remind me? Thank you. Anybody else? All right. This is the final opportunity where we offer the public to offer we offer the public the opportunity to offer comments on anything that you would like, whether it has been agendized or not. Could I see a brief show of hands of how many people would like to speak? 1, 2, 3, it looks like. 3 minutes. Please, whoever would like to speak first.
All right, I will. My name is Frank Size. I'm
Could I ask you to come up here so
Yes,
that
you
everybody
may.
can hear you?
My name is Frank Size, and I'm with JCAL, Justice Coalition for Andy Lopez. What I want to find out, is there a subcommittee to investigate or follow up on law enforcement abuses confronting the Latino community? Whether it's discrimination, denial of equal protection of laws based on race, color, or national origin in the administration of justice. There is a distrust and fear of law enforcement in the communities of Moreland, Colonial, Roseland, 9th Street. This is just unwarranted traffic stops, of individuals returning home after working late at night. Unwarranted stops of children near their homes to check to see if they're affiliated with gangs without, parents being nearby, or even photographs of their children. This kind of activity cannot be allowed to proceed anymore. The use of gang-related video material that is being shown to elementary and high schools without approval from a parent to be utilized as, by the gang task force. The bullying of our children, treatment of pregnant women, midnight inquiries or block parties, if you want to call them, to, make inquiries about crime. Is there anything? Is there a committee assigned?
There is not a subcommittee or a committee on this commission. It is, however, the entire idea of community policing is being addressed by the Law Enforcement Community Task Force, which recently began meeting.
Okay, so that's the committee that you're part of?
I actually am a part of that, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Art.
Yeah, I think it is an issue that is of interest to the Immigrant Rights Task Force. And I think one of the things we want to look at is how we can structure something on this commission that would be collaborative with whatever's going on with the county commission. But also, I wanted to suggest that I think the sheriff made an important point, and that is that what anybody who wants to really deal with his needs is documented incidents of what has happened. With date, place, the people involved, and I think that the move away from ICE holds and deportations is moving in the direction of hopefully making people feel safer coming forward and reporting what they've experienced.
Well, just let me add to that. Since I've been involved with JCAL since the 22nd of October of 2013, I have been in conversations with people that I meet who are everyday people in the Latino community. What I'm getting from them is I'm already at the point where I am getting names and a telephone number and the issues that these individuals are having. This is going as Rohnert Park, Petati, Santa Rosa. These are the areas that I am becoming familiar with. And I'll tell you, the picture of distrust and fear of the law enforcement community is hideous. To me, it's like I live in a bad fairy tale. I've only been in this community 3 years. This is stuff that should have been corrected long time ago. I fought for this. I busted my knuckles on people's heads.
And this makes the kind of information that Judy could bring to the task force if she has it. And,
You know, I'm 67 years old. I shouldn't have to be reliving this BS in this county. It's a disappointment. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Gail Simon. I live on the east side of Santa Rosa, sort of near the old Warwick Hospital. And I want to just push a little further regarding the possibility of the addressing by this law enforcement task force. I know we can take names, but I wondered if you noticed that the sheriff didn't really answer directly. He said, well, we are doing training. We've got this and this and this training. But as a little old white lady, I've been going on some of the marches and going to the protests, and I'm witnessing bullying and goading on the part of the sheriff's department that's very inappropriate. I know that we're all human, but the sheriffs are supposed to be a little more contained from what I've seen. And I've taken names. I didn't get a chance to talk to the sheriff, but I'll go make a report. It's just interesting to know, you know. They're not after me. I'm watching. But I saw in the courthouse today. I've been going along to the court gate for the kids that were arrested, you know, and just watching the court proceedings. And there is bullying in the sheriff's department, and I would really urge that to be included in with the sensitivity training and the cultural sensitivity training that perhaps the sheriffs really aren't hearing us about. I have a question for you. It is apparent to me that you probably don't always have armed guards at your meetings, and I'm curious if you invited that, if you felt fearful, or if that was somehow provided to you or encouraged.
I can address that. Chat rooms, Facebook, and community organizations are monitored and looked at constantly. The word that we received was that there was likely to be a very large, very angry, and possibly disruptive crowd here tonight. Risk management of the county decided that there should be a law enforcement presence here. The commission did not invite it.
Thank you.
But I'm glad that they were here. Approximately 2 years ago, we had a session which dealt with an entirely different topic, and I had to fight with the county to have a law enforcement presence here. I remember being told at the end of it, see, what did you go to all that problem for, because nothing happened? To which I replied, maybe nothing happened because there was a law enforcement presence here. So I always welcome them whenever they're here. I don't think they were intrusive. I don't think they interfered in any way with anyone who
No,
wanted
that
to
really
speak.
wasn't my question at all. I just
Yeah.
wondered how it came about, because it's happening at all the meetings everywhere. Your meeting
I
is not
think
the
it's
only one.
cautionary. We certainly don't want anybody to feel intimidated. And I don't just mean from the commission, I mean possibly the commissioners. I mean possibly people who are in the audience. We had 2 members of our junior commission here tonight as part of the audience. And as I looked at them, I was glad. There were some angry comments, which is fine. That's why we're here. That's what we want to hear. But I was glad that there was a law enforcement presence here to simply keep things on the same note. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and more actually. It is sad to me that, you know, we have a culture of fear, and I hope that we'll get to know each other better so that we don't feel that we have to do that.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Me too. Thank you.
Judy, can I make a brief comment?
Sure.
You know, I just want to add, with respect to the last 2 comments from the public, that, you know, the perspective on this is that this sheriff has only been here 2 years, 3 years in office. This is his third year, I think. He came in 2011. And as was alluded to, and there's also some printouts I think that were passed around, he's made some major strides with respect to the immigrant community. And I think what you see, maybe perhaps in his public face here, but behind the scenes also, we have indications that they're open to more significant change, sensitivity training for their staff, outreach from the community. Perhaps that's one of the small silver linings out of this horrible tragedy that's occurred in our community. Let's seize the moment and continue to put that pressure on our law enforcement agencies. And I applaud you all for speaking out, but I think the sheriff and his deputies, a show of good faith tonight, coming here and listening to you all and listening to us, and I think you'll see a more receptive attitude towards making some policy changes, including some sensitivity training. One of the comments that was made in the back afterwards, talking to them, was that they are going to take some major steps in that regard. So I think the comments are appropriate, but give the sheriff some chance. I think he's going to make some real changes in the way they deal with the community.
I would add to that a comment. The main purpose of the sheriff's appearance here tonight was to receive comments on the Trust Act. It would have been very easy for him to arrive at the beginning of the Trust Act discussion and then to leave. And I talked with him about that. He said that he wanted to be here for open public comment. He knew that there would be people who would be angry. He knew that there would be people who would want to talk about the Andy Lopez situation. But he felt that not only was it their right to talk about that, but that it was appropriate for him to be here to listen to it. So I give him credit for that. And I agree with Chris that we have had a lot. There's never enough, but there have been a lot of outreach efforts since this sheriff has been in place. And I think there are going to be more. At least that's the indication that we're getting. And that has not always been the case in this county. So, next speaker.
Okay, my name's Aaron. This is my first time to attend one of your meetings. I didn't even know where this place was until I found some friends who are involved in concerns about the situation with Andy Lopez. That's a big part of what brought me over here to find out the information. I didn't know what the other items were. I guess I would kind of reflect from what Mark was saying. I'm a new person, just buying a house in Roseland, very close to where Andy Lopez happened. This incident took place. I've just moved into that neighborhood close by, and I guess one question that I have is with the incident recently where the kids were detained by the gang task force. I wonder why is the gang task force being used against people who are just trying to utilize their right to free speech to address things that they're concerned about taking place in their community. Why is it the gang task force used? Shouldn't that gang task force be used against gangs, not against people who are trying to exercise their free speech rights to address political concerns in the community.
Thank you. Are there any additional speakers?
Hello, my name is Diana, and I wanted to thank each and every one of you for your contribution to our community. I happen to live in the Sebastopol area, but I wanted to speak briefly on behalf of a friend, Irene Silva, who is working with a team of people to open up the Sonoma Latin Arts Community Center inside of Wells Fargo. And I'd be happy to talk to my friend Ramon about it as well. But I just wanted to put it out there that it's to preserve, promote, and pass on Latino arts and culture. And the three objectives are to provide a multidisciplinary and multicultural arts education program for the youth, adults, and families that develops personal and creativity and instills an appreciation in Latin arts culture. The second is to preserve and promote and celebrate the rich cultural heritage of the Latin arts through engaging events. And the third is to make the programs accessible to all through the partnerships of community members, world leaders, and organizations. They are opening, or recently opened at the Wells Fargo Center, and they're very excited to be a resident partner with the organization that is aligned with our mission, their mission, but they are looking for funding, and they are going to be at the 4th annual Santa Rosa Salsa Festival and looking for support. I just wanted to...
So a couple of things. Could you make sure your contact information is left with Tracy? Tracy, could you pass that on both to the contributions of the Latino community, sub people, and to Chris Karofsky?
Okay, wonderful.
And I would love to tell you we could support you financially. That we cannot do, but possibly we can get involved in another way.
Connections, yes. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional speakers? Sir.
Hi, it's Negi from San Jose. What I want to speak about it when we were talking about why there's law here, and then the fear of that, and the fear comes out of ignorance, and I think that Youth Task Force hopefully will deal with that, because there's a disconnect with the communities, so there's a fear, and the Latino community fears the status quo, the establishment, because they're separated from it. The law goes in there, there's a disconnect with the law coming in there, as it was spoken last night, where the sheriff, the Santa Rosa Police, and Highway Patrol all patrol through there, but there's no real connection with the community. So the community fears the law. And when you say you look at what do you call the media like Facebook and such, and people are expressing anger, well, that comes from a real fear. That comes from fear. And then you look at it as, oh my God, look what they're saying about us. Well, that's because there's no connection. And then you set up, you bring the law in here thinking there's going to be a riot. But of course there wasn't, and there isn't. And there wasn't when there was a big demonstration going to the sheriff's office. There was total overreaction. A lot of county money spent on militarized law enforcement. That's another issue I think we should look at in this community. Is that what we want in this community, is militarized law enforcement? They look like soldiers going to, Iraq or so on. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is there's a disconnect with the community. So there's fear. There's fear on your side, and there's fear in the community. So when police come in, there might be a domestic violence issue, but they're not going to call the cops, because what happens is a lot of times, and there's been many deaths as a result of police going into the communities and not knowing how to deal with them. And it is, in a sense, to, there's a division. There's two communities in Sonoma County, the people that have and the people who don't. And when police go into those communities, it's like they're in enemy territory. They have no connection. And I think we need to be aware of that and be cognizant that that is the reality. And we're not going to get over these issues until we face that and come together as one community. And that's going to take a while. This task force that just formed, I can see it's a slow process. And what I recommend is that that task force and the Human Rights Commission come out into the communities and engage, listen more than speak. And people don't want to talk down to people who want to be heard. So that's all.
I can tell you that each of the subcommittees on the task force, as part of their charter and as part of their main responsibility, has been charged with soliciting ongoing community input.
Yes, I thank you, and I'll be watching to make sure I won't have to make a motion.
Me too.
All right.
Just one thing that I think needs to be said and needs to be remembered. We can all, everyone here and everyone in the community can celebrate the changes that have taken place in the implementation of the Trust Act. This will change the lives of the community in a small way, and we all understand there are a million other issues, and the issues that are not here today will be here tomorrow. But there's been a major change, and that change is for the better, and at the very least we can all celebrate that.
May I respond just a little bit? And that relates to the undocumented immigrant community, but there's a larger issue because there's a Latino community here that are as much part of the United States as we are, but let me say this word, racism, that is a reality still in this county.
There's a wonderful quote that I remember from years ago. We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. And whether we sink or swim depends on all of us.
Yeah, we should.
Are there additional, yes or no?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question to yourself here. Today we had several people from the community come and talk to us about an issue in the community. And I know that a lot of these belongs to the local law enforcement task force. But they have come and talked to us. How are we going to address this in the next meeting? Are we going to follow up? Are we going to have an AHA committee? I mean, we asked for input from the community and we have a lot of it today. So I'd like to see us, the Human Rights Commission, how are we going to respond?
Well, let me clarify something. We did not ask for input. The sheriff asked for input. And we were the facility for doing that. If the commissioners wish us to address the comments here tonight at our February meeting, I will be more than happy to put that on the agenda. Do you want that? Major?
Well, I was going to say that for myself personally, I'm really glad that you are a member of the task force because I feel that all of the issues that it represents are very near and dear to what we're doing. I mean, the moment the Andy Lopez tragedy happened, it was an item on our agenda and we've been discussing it since that time. So for me, not only that issue, but the larger issues that have been brought up tonight are issues that we are interested in, being involved in, and helping in any way that we can. And so I think with your monthly reports back, I don't envision the monthly reports of the community task force will leave our agenda anytime soon. That's going to be a very lengthy process. So perhaps as you get more information, we can extend our agenda time allotment for that, for additional discussion, and any member of the public is more than welcome to come to our monthly meetings and participate in that.
Yes, Chris?
For the February meeting, if we could have an agenda item to discuss naming you officially as a liaison, and that would give that a space on our agenda to discuss every month.
Okay, we can do that or simply call it old business.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Gail?
Who is sponsoring that task force?
The county?
Okay, not law enforcement,
No, although law enforcement had a part in it.
but not under law enforcement, it's independent. Okay.
It's totally independent. The county is providing staff and budget, but the task force is on its own.
Okay.
It makes its own decisions, It chooses its own tasks. There have been recommendations by the county. We are under no obligation to assume them. Task force consists of 3 people appointed by each of the 5 supervisors, 2 people appointed by the mayor of Santa Rosa, 1 person appointed by Jill Ravitch, and 3 people appointed by Sheriff Steve Freitas.
Thank you.
And those are open to the public.
Absolutely.
Right, so that's a good.
Absolutely. There's a website, and that is open. So, do you want or do you not want an additional item on the agenda next month?
I vote yes, make a motion to put it in the agenda for next month.
Okay, and what is it that you actually want on the agenda?
Follow up on comments and information on follow what's going on in the task force, and also...
Well, task force is separate. That's going to be a separate item.
Okay, then just follow up with the comments that from citizens, and let them know that we're listening and that we want to provide a forum for conversation.
Hold on. Is there a second? Okay. Discussion?
I was just going to suggest a debriefing period from tonight's meeting, which would include that, but your suggestion says the same thing, so.
Any other discussion? Although, did I see someone?
Can I just say, sorry.
Yeah.
I'd say that I think it is a worthwhile role for us. If you remember earlier, a couple of months ago, we had that discussion about community policing vis-a-vis something that happened in Guerneville. You know, this is the kind of thing where we can play a role. We don't want to overlap what the task force is doing, but we've had a lot of comment here, and maybe we should have at least a discussion next month about what our role should be.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wait, stop. People raise their hands.
I'm just not sure exactly what this agenda item reads when it comes out on here. What's it
Neither am I.
Discussion of discussion? Is that what the agenda item is? Sorry, I'm just not quite
It is a
clear.
follow-up on the meeting that took place today and a decision as to whether we have sufficient forward-moving opportunities already in place, or if we need to put anything further in place. If the answer after the discussion is we need to do nothing further because there is sufficient, then we're all agreed, I assume. If on the other hand something comes out that we're not doing, then we'll find out about it. A single agenda item for next month sounds to me excellent.
Are there any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. I'd like to thank all the members of the public who came here tonight. We always welcome your participation. Sometimes on items that are on our agenda, and I cannot tell you how often it has happened, that major thrusts of the commission have come about because someone from the public got up during open comment season and brought something to our attention. So we welcome you at our meetings. We encourage you to come as often as possible and to invite your friends. Meeting adjourned.